Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all my brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Roots of Islam channel. October 28th, 2024. While America watched Monday Night Football, San Francisco 49ers star cornerback Charvarius Ward was experiencing the most devastating moment of his life. His beloved daughter, Amani Joy, just 23 months old, took her final breath after battling heart complications since birth. But here's what the sports world doesn't know. This tragedy wasn't the beginning of Ward's spiritual journey. It was the culmination of a transformation that began years earlier when this NFL millionaire, this defensive superstar who had everything money could buy, discovered he had been spiritually bankrupt all along. What you're about to hear is the untold story of how a man who spent his career stopping others found himself stopped in his tracks by the power of Islam, and how his daughter's brief but beautiful life became the bridge between his old existence and his new faith. Charvarius Ward's story begins in Macomb, Mississippi, a small town where football isn't just a sport, it's survival. Born into a community where young black men have limited paths to success, Charvarius, whose name is pronounced Charvarius, discovered early that his hands were gifts from heaven, not just for catching footballs but for changing lives. Even as a child, Ward possessed an unusual combination of physical talent and genuine compassion that set him apart from his peers. While other kids dreamed of NFL contracts and mansion parties, young Charvarius talked about returning to Macomb to help the next generation escape the cycles of poverty and violence that claimed too many of his friends. This sense of purpose, this drive to serve something greater than himself, was already stirring in his heart decades before he would discover its true calling. At Middle Tennessee State University, Ward's exceptional abilities as a cornerback began attracting national attention. Scouts praised his coverage skills, his ability to read quarterbacks, and his fearless approach to tackling receivers twice his size. But teammates noticed something else about Charvarius. A quiet intensity, a searching quality that seemed to deepen with each passing season. While other players celebrated victories with typical college revelry, Ward often sat alone, studying game film but also reading books on philosophy, history, and different faith traditions. Friends jokingly called him the professor, not knowing that Ward was actually on a profound spiritual quest. The success on the football field was bringing him recognition and scholarship money, but it wasn't filling the growing void in his soul. Something was missing, and Charvarius knew that no amount of touchdowns or interceptions would satisfy this deeper hunger. When the Kansas City Chiefs selected Ward as an undrafted free agent in 2018, it seemed like the ultimate American dream fulfilled. From small-town Mississippi to the NFL, millions of young athletes would kill for this opportunity. Ward's work ethic was legendary, even among professionals known for their dedication. He was often the first player to arrive at practice and the last to leave, studying film with an obsession that impressed even veteran coaches. His breakthrough came during the 2019 season when he established himself as a legitimate starting cornerback, helping the Chiefs reach the playoffs. But success brought unexpected challenges. The money, the fame, the constant pressure. Ward found himself surrounded by luxury, yet feeling more spiritually empty than ever. He began asking questions that his teammates couldn't answer. What was the purpose of all this achievement? What responsibility came with this platform? Why did victory feel so hollow? The 2019 to 2020 NFL season was magical for Kansas City. Ward played a crucial role in the Chiefs' journey to their first Super Bowl victory in 50 years. The night they defeated the San Francisco 49ers 31-20 in Super Bowl Live, Ward should have been on top of the world. He was a Super Bowl champion, financially secure for life, and had achieved everything he had dreamed of since childhood in Macomb. Instead, as confetti fell around him in Miami, Charvarius felt an overwhelming sense of emptiness that he couldn't shake. Teammates were spraying champagne and celebrating, but Ward found himself quietly contemplating the fleeting nature of worldly success. That night, in his hotel room overlooking the ocean, he made a decision that would change everything. He began seriously exploring different spiritual paths, reading everything he could find about various religions, searching for something that could give meaning to his success rather than just validation for his talent. Ward's introduction to Islam came through an unlikely source: his barber in Kansas City. Abdul Rahman, a Moroccan immigrant who had been cutting hair in America for 20 years, noticed that his famous client always seemed troubled, despite his professional success. During their conversations, Abdul Rahman began sharing stories from Islamic history, discussing the lives of the Prophet Muhammad's companions and how faith had transformed ordinary men into extraordinary leaders. What struck Ward most powerfully was Islam's emphasis on using worldly success as a means of serving Allah and humanity, rather than as an end in itself. Abdul Rahman never preached or pushed. He simply lived his faith with quiet dignity and answered Ward's increasingly deep questions with patience and wisdom. These barbershop conversations became Ward's first real education about Islam, and he found himself looking forward to these discussions more than the haircuts themselves. In 2022, when Ward became a free agent, he faced one of the biggest decisions of his career. Multiple teams were offering massive contracts. The Indianapolis Colts eventually signed him to a 3-year, $42 million deal. But money wasn't Ward's primary consideration anymore. During the free agency process, he found himself making istikhara, the Islamic prayer for guidance, even though he hadn't officially converted yet. The decision to leave Kansas City, the team where he had won a championship, wasn't easy. But Ward felt a spiritual pull toward a new chapter, a sense that Allah was directing his path towards something greater than football. His agent was confused by Ward's decision-making process, which seemed to prioritize spiritual growth over maximum financial gain. But Charvarius had begun to understand that true success meant aligning his career with his spiritual development, not just chasing the biggest paycheck. Indianapolis became Ward's spiritual testing ground. Away from the familiar environment of Kansas City, surrounded by new teammates and coaches, he had space to explore his growing Islamic faith more seriously. Ward began attending Friday prayers at a local mosque, initially sitting in the back and observing, too nervous to fully participate. The Imam, Dr. Hassan Qadri, noticed the tall, athletic visitor and eventually approached him after prayers. When Dr. Qadri learned he was speaking with an NFL player, he was impressed not by Ward's fame, but by the sincere questions the young man was asking. Ward wanted to understand everything: the 5 pillars of Islam, the concept of predestination, the balance between worldly success and spiritual devotion. Dr. Qadri became Ward's informal Islamic teacher, providing books, answering questions, and most importantly, demonstrating through his own life how faith could coexist with professional responsibilities. The moment everything crystallized for Ward came during a particularly difficult loss to the Tennessee Titans in November 2022. He had played well individually, but felt devastated by the team's poor performance. That night, unable to sleep, he found himself reading the Quran that Dr. Qadri had given him months earlier. He came across verse 286, Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. Suddenly, Ward understood that his role wasn't to single-handedly carry his team or to find personal validation through football success. His job was to give his best effort while trusting in Allah's wisdom regarding the outcomes. This revelation transformed not just his approach to football, but his entire worldview. He realized he had been carrying burdens that were never meant to be his alone, trying to find in athletic achievement what could only be found through spiritual connection with his Creator. On a cold Friday morning in January 2023, Charvarius Ward stood before a small congregation at the Islamic Center of Indianapolis. His hands trembled slightly as he raised his right index finger and recited the words that would transform his existence. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul Allah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. The Imam embraced him, whispering, "Welcome home, brother," and for the first time in his adult life, Ward felt spiritually complete. The other congregants, many of whom had been following his journey for months, wept tears of joy. Word of his conversion spread quickly through the Muslim community nationwide, with messages of support pouring in from Islamic centers across America. But for Ward, the public reaction was secondary to the profound peace he felt. He had found his true identity, not as an NFL star, but as a servant of Allah. Ward's move to the San Francisco 49ers in 2024 represented more than just another career transition. It was a chance to live his Islamic faith in one of America's most diverse cities. The Bay Area's large Muslim population provided Ward with a supportive community as he navigated his first NFL season as a practicing Muslim. His new teammates were initially curious about his prayer schedule and dietary requirements, but Ward's professionalism and character quickly won their respect. Head coach Kyle Shanahan later said that Ward brought a different energy to the locker room, a calm confidence that seemed to elevate everyone around him. Ward's pre-game routine now included specific prayers and Quranic recitations, and he credited his improved mental clarity on the field to his spiritual practices. His interception statistics improved dramatically, but more importantly, he was playing with a joy and purpose that had been missing for years. In November 2022, Ward's life took on new meaning with the birth of his daughter, Amani Joy. Born premature with Down syndrome and serious heart complications, Amani would spend much of her short life in and out of hospitals. For Ward, his daughter's condition became the ultimate test of his newfound faith. While the medical challenges were overwhelming, including open-heart surgery when Amani was just 6 months old, Ward found strength in Islamic teachings about patience and trust in Allah's wisdom. He spent countless hours in hospital waiting rooms reading Quran and making dua for his daughter's health. Fellow Muslim NFL players reached out with support and prayers, creating a network of brotherhood that sustained Ward through the darkest moments. Amani's struggles also deepened Ward's appreciation for every moment of joy, teaching him lessons about gratitude and the temporary nature of worldly life that no football experience could provide. As Amani's health battles continued throughout 2024, Ward's Islamic faith became both anchor and compass. His teammates marveled at his ability to maintain peak performance on Sundays while spending his weekdays at children's hospitals. The 49 ER's organization provided incredible support, but it was Ward's religious community that provided the spiritual strength he needed. Dr. Qadri and other Muslim leaders reminded Ward that Allah tests those he loves, and that caring for Amani was among the highest forms of worship. Ward established the Charvarius for Change Foundation, focusing on supporting families with special needs children, particularly in underserved communities like his hometown of Macomb. His foundation work became an extension of his Islamic values, demonstrating that true success meant using his platform to serve others. Every tackle, every interception, every community event became an act of worship and a way to honor his daughter's inspiring spirit. On October 28, 2024, Amani Joy Ward returned to Allah after 23 months of bringing immeasurable joy to everyone who knew her. Ward's Instagram post announcing her passing revealed a man who had found peace even in the depths of grief. She taught us to have patience, trust, and a positive outlook on life. She showed us that even though she was dealt a bad hand, you could still be joyful and have peace if you believe in Almighty God. The Islamic concept of returning to Allah provided Ward with a framework for understanding his loss that no worldly philosophy could match. The NFL community rallied around Ward, but it was his Muslim brothers and sisters who provided the specific spiritual support he needed. The Janazah prayers for Amani were attended by teammates, coaches, and hundreds of community members who had followed Ward's journey. In his darkest hour, Ward's faith didn't provide easy answers, but it provided something more valuable: the certainty that his daughter's brief life had divine purpose and that their separation was temporary. Today, as Charvarius Ward continues his NFL career with the 49 ERs, he carries Amani's memory in everything he does. His Islamic faith, tested by the ultimate tragedy of losing a child, has emerged stronger and more authentic than ever. Ward has announced plans to expand his foundation internationally, working with Islamic organizations to support special needs children in Muslim-majority countries where resources are limited. But here's what the public doesn't know yet. Ward has been quietly studying Islamic theology and Arabic, and sources close to him suggest he may pursue formal Islamic education after his NFL career ends. His transformation from Mississippi football star to NFL champion to devoted Muslim father has inspired thousands. But his story is far from over. Recent whispers from the 49 ER's locker room suggest that another major announcement is coming. One that will once again demonstrate how profound faith can transform not just individual lives but entire communities. The man who once intercepted passes for personal glory now intercepts hearts for Allah, and the world is watching to see where this remarkable journey leads him next.